Hey guys! So it's time for yet another installment in my Kellerman vlogs. If you're not familiar with these, I reread the murder mysteries written by author Jonathan Kellerman, and I talk about things that I love, things that bother me, stuff like that. Hopefully I talk about it with you because you're going to comment on this video. So, the book that we have up today is Compulsion. The previous book was Obsession, so it's Obsession and Compulsion, and you would think they'd be connected, but they're not really. These vlogs are designed for people that have already read the books, but just in case you haven't and you want to know what's going on, I'll give you a little synopsis, but be careful because there are some spoilers. So, Compulsion is a book. So Alex Delaware is the main character. He's a psychologist, and his best friend is a LAPD police detective named Milo Sturgis. They work together on cases, and they just finished a big case, and they have really nothing going on. And so they get called in to investigate a stolen car that has blood in it. And they link that to some other murders. And there's a series of murders that involve luxury cars and dressing in costume. And they try to tie them all together and figure out what in the world is going on. You know, it starts out as a, was there even a crime other than, auto theft? And then ties into, I think essentially a serial killer or an assassin. So that's the synopsis. Let's talk about the book. So here are my notes. I have referred to this as the first strange book. The best way that I can articulate that is that the villain has certain traits, hobbies, and proclivities that I was unfamiliar with before reading the book. The strange books involve a far from mainstream part of humanity, and we'll get to that in at least one of the notes. This can be a pro or it can be a con. It can make the books more interesting or it can make them seem less tethered to reality. So once again, the past narrative with Broussard is rewritten as past indiscretions. If you follow these vlogs, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, Milo was given a promotion by a police chief on his way out, and in every subsequent book, it kind of recharacterizes what happened. That's the Janie Ingalls book called The Murder Book. And in this case, they talk about the police chief's past indiscretions, which is kind of inaccurate. But that's, like I said, I've ranted about that a lot. There's a new police chief mentioned in this book. So in the last book, there was also a new police chief mentioned. So is it the same new police chief, or was there a new one in the last book and then another new one in this book? There are some similarities between Kat, who is one of the characters in this book, and Lauren Teague, who's one of my favorite characters from a past book, Flesh and Blood, as well as Kat's mom and stepdad and Lauren's mom and stepdad. The big difference is that Lauren and her maternal family all seem to have their hearts in the right place, and the same can't be said for Kat's. Milo starts with the nicknames for the chief: his magnificence, his munificence, his perfectness, things like that. Not unlike the things that I do to Metal Pete. He's his metalness. And I got that, I think, from Aladdin, where Iago refers to Jafar as his evilness and his rottenness and stuff like that. But it's a literary trope that I like. But Milo normally uses those in later books for the chief that he has a relationship with. So I'm wondering, is this the start of the chief that he has a relationship with? Okay, this new chief has a master's in psychology, which is another clue because I believe the chief that he has a relationship with also has a master's in psychology. And this new chief is Irish, and the chief that he has a relationship is also Irish. So there's three really strong clues that this is the start of the series of books where it involves the police chief, where Milo has a one-on-one relationship. Another of the common Kellerman tropes, and this is one that I really like, where Alex discovers the key to solving the mystery by visiting a small town and learning a lot from an old lady that's kind of a gossip. And that just happens again and again and again in these books. And it's a little annoying how it keeps happening, but it's a trope that I like. So here's one that really I've wondered in the past, and it really stood out to me here. Why doesn't Alex read novels? I mean, he's a character written by a novelist. Like, when he's on a plane, he's paging through magazines. When he's in a waiting room or a hospital, he's either sitting there bored and doing stress reduction techniques, or he's just sitting there staring at the wall, or he's reading the magazines. Like, why doesn't he read novels? That's what I always do on a plane, and that's what I think Kellerman would want us to do on planes or in waiting rooms, because he wants us to read his books. The most annoying thing in this book to me is when Alex is at the restaurant in New York. I can't remember if that's Le Petit Grenouille. No, they went to Le Grenouille before, and then this was at a different restaurant. I should have made note of what the name of the restaurant is because I want to know if that's a real place. La Bella, I think. Let's look it up right now. I know Le Grenouille is a real place. La Bella, New York. Let's try La Bella restaurant. La Bella Vita is real, but that's pizza. I have to look it up in the book and see I can't remember the name of the restaurant now. I'll add it in a comment or something like that if I come up with it. But yeah. So anyway, that's not the point. That was a tangent. So the most annoying thing in the book is when he's at the restaurant, the person that he wants to talk to, that he's kind of stalking at this restaurant, that person's daughter spots Alex. Alex is eating alone, and she insists on talking to him. And that just seems like just a really unlikely coincidence that the person that he wants to talk to, their kid would say, "Look, Daddy, that man's eating alone. I want to talk to him." Like that wouldn't happen in real life. That really bothered me. Okay, so Sonia, one of the characters in New York, her ex-husband, is referred to both Stevie and Bob, and I don't honestly. I mixed up something and I just don't understand, or somebody else is mixed up, but her ex-husband is referred to by both of those names. So I really kind of would like to know if I missed something. Okay, so here's the point I was referring to earlier with this being one of the stranger books. This book, there's a subplot involving Wanabooze. And I've never heard that term before. And it's relating to, it's similar to drag culture and LGBTQ culture. It's in that whole family of things, according to the book. And I'm not LGBTQ, but I know a lot of people that are. I'm close to a lot of people that are. I'm involved with a lot of people that are. And I've never heard that before. And I asked my wife, because she's much more involved than me in LGBTQ stuff, and particularly drag stuff. She's done makeup for drag shows and stuff like that. And she loves drag culture. And she's made me watch every episode of RuPaul's Drag Race and so on and so forth. She has drag fan fiction on her phone. That's how much she loves that whole culture. And she'd never heard of it either. So I did a Google search, and nothing came up in the first few results. I checked Urban Dictionary, which you always gotta okay, what do you got from me, Urban Dictionary? And nothing there, and I can't remember where else I looked. But it didn't come up in the first few Google results, and I knew it wasn't something I wanted to dig deep into Google for, because that's just, some things are better off left unknown. But so, is it a real thing, or is it something Kellerman created for the book? And if so, where did he pull that from? So, that's a big question. That's my probably biggest question. And then comparatively, a very, very small question is, can passwords have spaces? Because Dale Bright's password is Bright Space Guy, and I've never been allowed to put a space in a password. So, okay, that's all my notes for this book. I'm going to circle back with that restaurant if I can find it. The next book is Bones, which introduces Moses and Aaron, which I think are just two really well-written characters on behalf of Kellerman. I think he wrote those two very well, so I'm very excited to start making notes for Bones. So thanks for watching. Okay, so I did actually look it up, and the name of the first restaurant is La Bella, and there's a La Bella Vita, but not just La Bella, and it does not exist at the address given in the book. At that address, it's a 7-story apartment building with what looks like an espresso boutique in the ground floor, so I'm going to guess that's fictional. And then the other thing that confused me is I kept mixing up whether the other restaurant was La Grenouille or La Petite Grenouille. The book actually says La Petite Grenouille, which is in Montreal, and La Grenouille is a real place in New York. So again, there looks to be a little bit of creative license there too. So that answers some questions and presents some more. So thanks for watching.